Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. A call to order the Clackamas County Board of Commissioners in a business meeting here on August 6th. A little ahead of myself on that one. So I will ask Mr. Krupp, our county administrator, to call the roll.
So before I do that, I just want to make sure I sort of
sweet
join
shirt.
the crowd here.
Somebody zoom in on that. What a lovely shirt. And the tie matches so much.
It took me a while to pick something that just went with this color, so I worked on it this morning. But for folks who are watching at home, today is the Employee Appreciation Picnic today, and we're all going to be participating in that over the lunch hour today, and that's why we're all wearing our county shirts.
Well, almost all Martha.
I have my county badge on.
That'll do
county
it.
badge.
Yeah.
Wear the shirt.
Okay, well, we are joined this morning with Mr. Chris Storey, representing County Counsel's office this morning, and then, of course, to my left is Mary Rathke, our clerk of the board. So I'll start with the roll. Commissioner Bernard.
Here.
Commissioner Smith.
Here.
Commissioner Savas.
Here.
Commissioner Schrader.
Here.
Chair Ludlow.
Here, please all rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The first item on the agenda, at least since, well, almost always since I've been in office, and that is citizens communication. So we'll call you up in twos, and they are Gene Roberts and Rocky Roberts, followed by Norm Rice and Shirley Morgan. Either one of you can start.
Ladies first.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name's Jean Roberts, and I live outside of Sandy. I live next to the Oregon Candy Farm, and I understand that the grow next door is a medical marijuana grow site and that the Commissioners cannot do anything about regulating that. However, how do you propose to regulate the recreational marijuana? Why won't you allow the voters to know what you are considering? We as citizens have the right and responsibility to voice our opposition to these types of decisions, and we feel that it is important to hold the public hearing to allow these feelings to be heard in an open and public way. There are many negative impacts when it comes to Schedule I illegal drugs. I am a 3-time cancer survivor. I had stage 4 cancer and stage 3 cancer. I did chemo 3 times. I did radiation 1 time. Never once did I have marijuana. I would like to thank both Commissioner Savas and Commissioner Schrader for coming out to the properties and seeing the devastation and impact that we face if the medical marijuana is allowed to expand to recreational marijuana. Commissioners, why won't you allow a public hearing before it's too late?
Commissioner Smith?
You still have a minute 20 left. First of all, you want to know what we're thinking about regulation. We haven't decided, or we're not thinking anything until we go out and take tours. I suspect we'll be at your place. I've been to Norm Rice's place before. We have not decided anything. There's going to be a task force or a committee set up with citizens, and I believe Shirley Morgan has been asked to be on that, and Norm has been asked to be on that. So it's going to be fair. He asked me to be on it. He wasn't appointed. And I put your name forward. And so we haven't decided anything. As you know, we had that meeting with the Planning Commission, which was very public, and people were invited. That's on our website. We are going to be having hearings on things coming up very soon, and there's a schedule on the website. So there will be hearings. We haven't decided anything. I would love to tell you what I'm thinking, but I don't know what I'm thinking about marijuana. I just know it needs to be safe. I don't particularly like the idea, but it's been dropped in my lap, as all commissioners, where we have to make a decision on it, yes. But right now, I'm open-minded to you and others as well.
Commissioner Savas?
Well, I just want to be clear. I think we kind of did decide, I guess you'd call it so much a policy direction to not consider opt-out perhaps on the grows or the processing. So, and my concern, as I expressed on Tuesday, was that if the first public hearing or informational piece is November, middle of November, November 12th, or whatever the day was, that might be too late to consider an opt-out. So if all of it's on the table, then maybe a hearing in advance of that or discussion, an educational kind of discussion followed by public comment would be fruitful if we could do that near term. But if we wait till November to consider all the options, it may be too late.
Sorry, you did have some time left if you'd like to continue.
That's fine.
Okay, thank you. You're up.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name's Rocky Roberts. Last week I attended a marijuana forum in Alfalfa, Oregon, Deschutes County. And that county also voted 48.5% no to 51.5% yes for legalizing marijuana. But their county commissioners are holding a public hearing to allow their citizens to voice their opinions and opt out, and that's going to be on August 12th. Medical marijuana will stay, but recreational marijuana will greatly increase already the negative effects it will have on our property values, excessive water usage, fire hazards, and community safety. And it will be infused with criminal activity, as this drug is always brought with it. We were asked by former owner of the Oregon Candy Farm and Clackamas County Planning Department if we would object to the candy farm to continue making candy when the former owner sold to the new owner from California. Of course, we didn't object. But the pot dealer lied. He knew he was going to be growing marijuana, and he knew he was going to be infusing the candy with pot. By not responsibly allowing a referral to the voters to decide if they want and opt out on marijuana facilities, the commissioners are hushing the voices of Clackamas County voters, and by not allowing a public hearing on the topic to even discuss this is questionable. We look to our commissioners to abide by the oath that you all took to uphold federal law and state law. We look to you to provide for public safety, quality of life, property values. Why are you circumventing our rights as citizens? And you've already answered this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Mr. Ludlow, Mr. Bernard, Ms. Smith, why won't you allow a vote to opt out or a public hearing?
Rocky, what's the zoning on your property?
RFF5.
And it's the same next door?
Correct.
one of the things to be considered by the Planning Commission staff and this body is whether to not allow any of the 4 marijuana processing or activities on any residential property. So again, I point out, if that happens, and that's my intention, by the way, I'll just share it with you, it shouldn't be on any residential property. And so if that happens again, regardless of what the guy next door thinks his intentions are about growing recreational, it won't be able to do that. I mean, every person, I guess, is allowed to grow, what is it, a couple plants, but there won't be any large, what was that, Ken? 4, thank you. But there won't be a large-scale operation unless it is medical, which, again, I've said before, will continue regardless of what happens in this county or even in this state, because that's a legislative decision. Commissioner Bernard.
So your zoning is exactly like mine. Because I'm open-minded, tend to, I will consider and somewhat, I agree with John about rural residential, about any residential, that we should make that decision very carefully. Since we are going to have public hearings on that, the law says we have to be reasonable, and I think it's a reasonable consideration to not allow on any residential. So that is something, is where I'm leaning. We are going to have public hearings. The voters already voted, and my biggest concern is, well, I have a couple. One is where it's grown, what it looks like where they grow. And the other is if we don't get money, if we opt out and we still have all those other things, we have no money to enforce it. And I'm actually going to meet with the sheriff. The chair and I are going to meet with the sheriff to find out about that issue. So we're doing the research and we're going to figure out what that is. But I totally agree with you. I mean, I have, like I said, same exact zoning as you. I don't want my neighbor growing marijuana. I don't blame you. And will it decrease property values? Yes. So we have to be very careful on how that goes. But for me, again, I think there are other ways we can regulate it. For example, I heard there are camera issues facing your yard.
Not ours.
Not yours.
Western Center is the biggest one.
Norms? Oh, okay. That's of great concern to me. I mean, so there's got to be a way we can deal with that, the lighting, the fencing, and whether there are other code violations, which I understand there are, that need to be addressed. But if we don't get any money, we're not going to be able to do any of that. And first thing I got to tell you, I think that our dependence on syntax is a sin in itself. But the sad part is everybody else is going to be doing it all around us. Washington's doing it. Washington County will be doing it. Multnomah County will be doing it. And those people aren't going to just stop at the line, eat the product or smoke the product, and then drive through Clackamas County to the next county and buy some more. They're going to come here. And, you know, that it's sad that we're placed in this position, really, because I was hoping the voters would say no, because I certainly did. But a little country music.
$5.
So,
$5.
so
Exactly.
you know, that is definitely something I'm very concerned at. And, you know, the Planning Commission, it seemed to me they were pretty close to where we were. And we take their advice and most of the time. And so I look forward to those hearings and our hearings, which there are 4, I believe.
Yeah, there's
4 hearings.
Yeah, and 2 in the Planning Commission, at least, up to 2, probably 2, and 4 with us, that's correct.
Yeah.
And anybody can come at any time before a business meeting,
It'll be fun.
like you are today, to voice your opinion. And we're not muting the public whatsoever. So the assumption that we are is erroneous.
Well, a lot of the public are working people. They cannot be to these meetings at this time. They need to have a hearing that they can come to.
And we
that's
have
an
a,
evening.
yeah, we, every, once.
Thursday.
Thursday of every month is an evening meeting that starts at 6 o'clock, so,
Except this month.
except for this
Good
month.
point.
Because it's County Fair Week.
Commissioner Savas.
I just, I think I've said it before about this limited time and opportunity to do some of the things that the legislature deliberately did as far as offering an ability to opt out. But yesterday I was at I just attended in the audience, an MTAC meeting at Metro yesterday, and this was one of the things on the agenda. And what I learned there was that other cities in our region are actually having similar concerns, Hillsborough, Portland, and others, and talking about either industrial land, other aspects, and the scarcity of that industrial land. So they are actually saying and thinking and concerned very similarly. Now, I don't know what they're going to do and what actions they'll take, but I think that the citizens out there, as soon as possible, being cognizant of these timelines, are about these opportunities that will actually expire if we don't act soon, that the sooner we get the good information out there of what our options are, if we don't take advantage of that and get that information out there, I don't see how we have an informed public out there, and that goes for every jurisdiction in the region. Oregon is Oregon. I'm just worried about the complexion of the state and our quality of life changing to something that we didn't anticipate.
Well, you got the juices flowing up here. So I want to thank you both for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Norm Rice, Shirley Morgan.
Good morning, distinguished commissioners. I hope you like my tie. It's an international tie.
I was going to mention that, Norm. Heck with Dawn's.
Yeah, it's an international tie. Also, I like your red shirts. It reminds me of what I used to wear when I was lieutenant governor of Kiwanis. You look like a bunch of Kiwanians up there. That's a shout out to Kiwanis. Thank you for encouraging citizens of Clackamas County to be actively involved in the important decisions of this county. When I cast my vote of support for any elected official, I am asking them to not replace my voice with theirs while I complacently watch from the audience, but to add volume to our collective and shared voice as together we uphold our democracy. I am before you this morning giving voice to 7 voices and votes of my family residing all in Clackamas County and voters. I also represent many within my boring community. Exciting boring community. Over the past couple months, you have all, along with most of us here, been working very hard to understand and make sense of the impact of M91 and then HB 3400 upon our county. And I applaud you for that. Some of us may believe that we have been impacted more than others. Some of us wake up daily to the noise and, yes, smells of medical marijuana operations, our new neighbors. We clearly understand, and I want to make this clear, that these new medical marijuana neighbors are not going to be moving anytime soon. HB 3400 has made that perfectly clear to us. This is not the arena for medical marijuana issues. That's before the Oregon Health Authority. HB 3400 did, however, provide us the opportunity to let our new neighbors know that any plans to expand their operations to large 97,000 square foot buildings or 7 additional large greenhouses, that expand those recreational operations may not necessarily happen in our rural residential areas. I sense and applaud that many of you, as you've stated here this morning already, do not agree with, or do agree with appropriate regulations and strategic and smart enforcement. And notice I said smart enforcement and strict. I do trust that the BBC and Planning and Zoning will adopt appropriate regulations to protect our residential and EFU areas as HB 3400 allows. So this is not a question about any of that. HB 3400 gives you, however, the opportunity to put in place a timeout, an opt-out opportunity for any commercial type marijuana operations. Is that time?
Go ahead. Go
Okay.
ahead.
As many of you know, many county commissioners around our state, as well as city councils, are giving their citizens the opportunity to rethink the value they wish to place upon this new emerging industry within our areas. As was stated in the Clackamas County newsletter, which I understand to be your collective opinion as commissioners, people in the marijuana business should not have to wait 18 months. We all at times have to wait, including those of us directly impacted. We wait sometimes months and months for the code enforcement wheels to turn, and we're still waiting. We have all learned to wait. More than often, that is just part of the county process. My family, community, and those community members I represent ask you to seriously consider a dual-tracked approach, putting the opt-out referendum on the table for 2016, and at the same time, continuing with the regulatory track that you have put in motion. This is a timeout approach, much like we give our kids and our grandkids. Time for us to learn to understand each other better. As my wife often tells me, let's take the time to get together to get it right. So I ask you, Jim Bernard, Commissioner Tootie Smith, Commissioner Ludlow, Martha, and Paul, will you take the time to listen to a public hearing prior to making that final decision about an opt-out or to not opt out? I ask you, will you consider a public hearing on this important topic now, not waiting until November or October, but now?
Commissioner Smith.
I have a quick point of clarification on one of your photos, and you can answer yes or no. This photo here
Yes.
with the green bushes, you're saying that's marijuana?
Yes, it is.
Okay, because from my point of view, it could have been Christmas trees. I mean, it looks, to me, it looks.
I welcome you, Commissioner.
We'll be
Smith.
out, we'll be out on the tour. Just because I haven't been there
Yeah,
yet doesn't
it
mean
is.
I won't be there. Now,
And you can
my
smell the
next-
difference.
Yeah, and you know what? All crops smell. So if you want to try to take this crop down by the smell, be very careful because it could have impact on other crops. And I want to thank you for your veiled support of my candidacy about listening, having elected leaders listening to the folks. I really appreciate your support. Thank you.
Shirley? Oh, Commissioner Saps.
I just want to mention one other thing, and that is that, you know, the attorney for the Association of Oregon Counties, Rob Bavette, did a lot of hard work, and I think is probably one of the people that the state looks at for guidance, especially as this was traveling through the legislature and they were working on what became 3400. But I know that a number of jurisdictions, including us as county commissioners and counties and everyone statewide, was saying, give us the opportunity to opt out. Work hard for the opt out. Work hard, work hard. And I think we all agreed. We helped advocate for that. So I think it's something that I don't think we really had an informed discussion when we considered not to look at that. And I think that's the piece, you know, put the public comment period or the hearing aside for a moment, even though I think that's really important. I'm not saying to ignore it, but I don't think we really had an informed discussion amongst ourselves at that period of time, because subsequent discussions that we've had afterwards I think I realized that indeed we didn't really understand what the implications were when we discussed it. And I think we all need to get better understandings and education around that. So I agree with the two tracks, as I think Norm kind of pointed out, is do both.
Commissioner Bernard.
Well, one thing I'd maybe like to put on issues next Wednesday, right? Yeah. Wednesday is what counties are considering opting out? Because, one thing, it's really easy for Harney County to opt out. There's nobody there. And and maybe Lake, it's really easy for them to opt out because there's nobody there. They don't have Multnomah County and Washington County. Now, if Washington County, Multnomah County, and Marion County were all considering opting out, a vote of opting out, it'd be something I'd definitely consider. But I haven't heard that yet. So that I'd like to hear because it doesn't make any difference if we opt out and they're just right there.
I failed to mention many cities in our
Oh, I
county are also choosing to opt out.
I know
You
that
gotta let
too.
him finish, okay?
I know that too. They were given the right to do that. It'd be interesting to find out who else is considering that because I'm sure we could probably find that out at our AOC conference. I would imagine this would be a topic of discussion at our conference we're all heading to this weekend, so.
Well, and let's clarify, these counties are not considering opting out. They're considering sending it to the voters to have them opt out in November of 2016. Shirley.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Shirley Morgan. I'm from Welch's. When the county commissioners voted in a policy meeting to invite the land use option rather than the referral to the voters option regarding HB 3400, many citizens felt circumvented. They felt circumvented because this is probably one of the most impactful decisions that this county will ever make. We understand clearly what we are asking for, a referral opt-out to the voters in November of 2016. And we know that the impact of this decision, if passed, would put an immediate moratorium on all medical marijuana dispensaries and processing sites, though it would grandfather in all existing ones, as you indicate, Chair Ludlow, on many occasions. It would also put an immediate moratorium on all recreational marijuana producers, processors, wholesalers, and retailers, all of which are of great concern to us all. We ask for this because we have not been given any clarity on the proposed regulations that the commissioners have talked about regarding how they might ably to potentially regulate this marijuana product, such as, can you regulate marijuana out of the RRF5 zones without facing potential litigation, since marijuana has been redefined as an agricultural crop? That is a question that is at bay for you all. I know that. We already know that you have no authority in regulating marijuana in the exclusive farm use areas, such as requiring neighbor notification, conditional use permits, setbacks, and odor and nuisance controls. We know that. There is no control, and they are at stake here as well. I have been in contact with Washington County officials, and they will be discussing this very important topic in September. Would it not be more appropriate to hold a public hearing to solicit our input, as well as ask for letters, calls, emails, and faxes, and then gather your findings from the Marijuana Task Force and then put together a presentation that clearly clarifies what potential regulations might be offered, and then hold another public hearing to tell us what you found, and then make a decision on whether land use or referral to the voters is the best based option? Or at least put a temporary ban on production and processing while we're in process. In this way, you have asked us rather than told us what we will do. And you will have made us a partner in support of your final decision, rather than make us an adversary that will be angry with your final decision. So the question I have today is, why won't you have a public hearing on this topic now?
I think we got to clarify what a public hearing is versus a public discussion. A hearing is usually associated with an act, a legislative act. We have said, now here's a perfect example, and next month there will be a Thursday evening meeting in September And at 6 p.m., anybody can come in and give their 3 minutes. I've said before, and you've heard me say it, that nobody's precluded right now from providing similar documentation to what was passed to us today to our county planning staff, who has agreed to pass it on to the planning commission, who has agreed to pass it on to us as it's received. So again, anybody that wants to come out and talk to us, and if it's inconvenient, I certainly understand, on Thursdays at 10 a.m., but they have an opportunity in our evening meetings certainly to come and talk to us about it. A public discussion is put on the docket so that people can come and talk about a specific item, but anybody can come and talk about anything. Commissioner Smith.
Thank you. Well, I'm going to ask now, Shirley, just what you said. You know, I'm asking now for people to submit their concerns, their emails. I invite every opinion out there. Time has something to do with this. We're in August. It's vacation month. It's fair month, getting the kids back to school. So the people who have kids that are most concerned about this probably aren't even listening until September. We are not going to make any decisions now in August on this, so I think you can expect us to gear up in September and October. There won't be no decisions in August. And you made another assertion that I'd like to correct you on, is that we have not told anybody anything that we're going to do except for the opt-out. Now, I happen to believe that we just had a vote. The people voted for it at this point. My fear is if we opt out, wait till November of 2016, those grow operations will actually flourish because they don't care if they're legal, because they can wave the flag of the state law saying, yeah, I can do this. So that's what I'm concerned about, that it goes unregulated, that it goes unchecked by our law enforcement officials. Once we have rules in place, I think you'll find that it would be much better, making a bad situation a little bit more palatable. And I want to ask Chris Storey, if we go with the opt-out, does that put a moratorium on medical marijuana?
I'm not sure. I'd have to look that up.
Well, that was a statement that came up today. I was under the assumption that the medical marijuana facilities that have been cited, not by us, but by the health authority, are here to stay.
Certainly, my impression is that medical marijuana is a separate regime from the.
Well, we need to find that out. We need a very solid answer.
Mr. Madkour, he's being substituted for in one way, but he's back there shaking his head, so we'll have him come forward and answer that question.
Good morning, Commissioners. No, if you were to adopt an ordinance imposing a moratorium and sending the issue to the voters next November, it would only affect recreational marijuana. There is a specific exemption for pre-existing medical marijuana facilities that have been lawfully permitted. So it would not have an impact upon medical marijuana.
And when you mean by lawfully permitted, it wasn't the county necessarily that lawfully permitted them. It was who?
It is the Oregon Health Authority, which has jurisdiction over medical marijuana. It's the OLCC, which will have it over recreational. The county did have some hand and time, place, manner restrictions with medical marijuana facilities, though.
So the existing marijuana facilities aren't going away, and the grow operations for medical will not go away if we vote for an opt-out.
The opt-out pertains to recreational only.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Schrader.
So one of the things that I am trying to get my arms around is what was the precinct breakdown? And I know that I did get information on that. And what's fascinating to me, it appears as if the urban areas of our county voted yes, and it was the rural areas that voted no. And Shirley, I think you had some information to that effect.
That is correct.
Too. So what we're really seeing is, what worries me the most is it certainly is exacerbating what we would call the urban-rural divide, because I'm not convinced some of our urban folks understand that what might be some of the impacts in the rural areas where the actual grow operations can happen. And so that's a concern for me. And at some point, Commissioners, I'd be willing, we need to talk about this, and I suppose bring it up under issues. I wouldn't be adverse to a public hearing earlier than later if we have a room full of people who just want to give us their
Public
opinion.
discussion, you meant?
Well, public discussion, whether it's, whatever. I think giving people that opportunity isn't a bad idea.
Would you agree August is not a good time for that, though?
I would say, I would agree. I think at this point, we're even going on recess in August
Yeah.
as well,
Right.
which is part of it, but I don't see why we can't look at, September. I
could
think
go
part of the angst is leaving it to November, I think, is disconcerting to people. And even though people, yes, people can come and say whatever they need to talk to us, and this commission's been really good about that, but maybe we can formalize a public discussion. That'll help. I'm just a suggestion, so.
Commissioner Savas.
I'm always, always concerned that people out there watching or watching in the near future on a recording on cable channel know that they're getting as much accuracy as possible. My recollection was there were 4 categories under 3,400 under recreational that we could opt out on, and 2 categories under medical. And the actual grow operations of medical is not one of those options, unfortunately. Processing, yes. Retail, yes. You can opt out of those under 3,400. And whether, don't want to get caught up in semantics, but whether it's a public hearing or discussion, I think your intent was a discussion, knowing it's not a hearing as far as an ordinance. It would be, and I look at that discussion as similar to the medical retail. When we had that, we had an educational piece of that. We informed people, and then we had subsequent discussions following that. I think that's really what I hear you asking for. And the piece of that is, as far as if there was a moratorium, I think Commissioner Smith, I think I understood what she said, but the OLCC, if we put in a opt-out temporary moratorium until November, the OLCC will not license facilities if we have that. So with that as a case, that if someone wants to go on the risk of going and starting an operation, knowing that they were not licensed, that's at their own risk. And I will add that the piece that I'm concerned about, even if we try to regulate something and we lose, that cost of litigation, whether it is people that are already not doing it legally, whether it's a regulation, we say, you know what, we want it here but not there. If we lose in court, we have nothing. And I think we avoid a lot of legal costs, public taxpayer dollars being wasted on all the legal fallout of this. It seems to me that the things that we have the greatest concerns about, we could eliminate half of the litigation or more by opting out, if the voters approve, by opting out of this moratorium, by this on the grow operations and processing. We could save ourselves a lot of money. Unless I hear a lot of constituents at a public discussion saying, yeah, we want to have, and the voters say we want to have these grow operations. If that's the case, then maybe that's a whole different, I need to hear that. I haven't heard an outcry for people saying we want these grow operations, and I want one next door to me. I'm not interested in growing, but I want one next door. I haven't heard that. So that's, I think, the thing that would be valuable for us is to hear that, people know what our options are, know what all our legislators worked hard for in crafting 3,400, and understand that they weighed that when they allowed us this provision to consider that. That needs to be heard, and that's not just in this jurisdiction of Clackamas County. That's within the cities of Clackamas County, other jurisdictions outside of Clackamas County. I think everyone ought to be aware of what those options are available to the entire state and every jurisdiction within.
Commissioner Smith.
Well, Mr. Savas, I appreciate your commentary, but please don't put words in my mouth that were unintended. What I asked council was of existing marijuana facilities. There's nothing that we're going to do about that. And you have to understand the reality of the situation with marijuana. Where do you think those marijuana facilities are going to get their marijuana? From grow sites in our county or across the county border. So whereas I appreciate people thinking that an opt-out is going to be a magic wand for us to all of a sudden, you think the vote's going to go the opposite way. And I disagree with that. Now, if we need to take more time than what the present schedule allows, we will take more time to fully vet every single opinion out there if we need be. That schedule, whereas, like I say, this month, nobody's paying attention that much. I appreciate the folks in the room coming to raise their red flags and their disagreements with us, but I think that we will have ample opportunity, both at the Planning Commission and at this commission, for people to voice their opinions. You have not been shut out, and we're going to go forward and listen to you folks.
Thank you. All right, now we have a couple public hearings. Mr. Krupp.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The first public hearing for the morning is consideration of a board order for a boundary change proposal that involves an annexation to the Sunrise Water Authority. We have Mr. Chris Storey from County Counsel and Mr. Ken Martin, our boundary change consultant, here to provide information to the board.
Good morning, Commissioners. You are acting as your Board of County Commissioners hat, but deciding the boundaries for special districts is one of your statutory authority duties. This proposal is coming in from the Sunrise Water Authority, who is asking for annexation of 20.31 acres of property that is currently within the city of Happy Valley and being served by other services but not water. They would like to develop the property, fairly substantial development, aiming at 168 mixed-use multifamily units and 200,000 square feet of commercial space. Ken Martin, our expert boundary consultant, has undertaken a review, which you have seen proposed findings, and he's available to answer any questions you may have regarding that.
I have one question.
Go ahead.
These 20 acres, are those residences or businesses, whatever they are, currently being served on wells, groundwater wells?
Yes.
Okay, and so then they would have, is it an option to get onto the Sunrise Water Authority, or is it mandatory?
For that amount of water, mandatory.
So they have to, well, who's going to pay for the lines and the connection fees?
That'll be part of the development process.
This is a new development?
This is a new development. It's currently vacant land occupied by two people.
Okay, thank you.
Vacant land occupied by two people. That's
That-
a good
that-
one. I'm going to
the
remember that.
second I said it, I can take it back.
That's okay.
Semi-vacant.
Yes, that's better.
Semi-vacant land.
Yes.
All right,
It's,
any further questions of the presenters? All right, I'll open the public hearing and ask if anyone wishes to speak on this matter. I'll close the public hearing and ask for a motion.
I move we approve the board order for boundary change proposal CL 15-002, annexation in the Sunrise Water District.
Is there a second? What's that?
I second the
Thank you.
motion.
Commissioner Bernard with the motion, Commissioner Savas with the second. Any further discussion? I'll ask the clerk to call the poll.
Commissioner Bernard.
Aye.
Commissioner Smith.
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader.
Aye.
Commissioner Savas.
Aye.
Chair Ludlow.
Aye, passes 5-0. Mr. Krupp, the second one.
Okay, the second public hearing is consideration of reading and adoption of a board order that would amend our local contract review board rules, and I'm going to ask Mr. Chris Storey to explain that one for you.
Absolutely. Commissioners, as I'm now familiar with, I'm sure, when the board goes into recess, the business of the county doesn't always stop. So this is a short-term delegation of authority to the county administrator to be able to execute any contracts that may be necessary during that time period.
And this has been done before.
It has been done.
Every year.
Yes, several times before. I will note, because the board has asked this question before, that county council is working with purchasing, because the purchasing manager is retiring, it's been a bit delayed, looking at a permanent change to the local contract review board rules, so we don't have to do this every time you recess.
And every year after this period of time, Mr. Krupp is dutiful about reporting what actions he did take. So open the public hearing and ask if anyone wishes to speak. I'll close the public hearing and ask for the motion.
I move we read the board order by title only.
I'll second that.
All right, motion by Commissioner Smith, second by Commissioner Schrader. Further discussion? I'll ask the clerk to call the poll.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader?
Aye.
Commissioner Savas?
Aye.
Commissioner Bernard?
Aye.
Chair Ludlow?
Aye, passes 5-0. I'll ask the clerk to assign a board order number and read the board order by title only.
Okay, this is going to be Board Order 2015-87. In the matter of amending Local Contract Review Board rules, Appendix C of the Clackamas County Code.
All right. Ask for a motion.
I move we approve the board order amending local contract review board rules, county code appendix C.
I'll second that.
All right, Commissioner Bernard with the motion, Commissioner Savas with a second. Any further discussion? All right, Mary?
Commissioner Schrader?
Aye.
Commissioner Savas?
Aye.
Commissioner Bernard?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Chair Ludlow?
Aye, passes 5-0. And now it's time for the consent agenda. I'll ask the clerk to read the consent agenda by title.
Okay, the consent agenda. Under Health, Housing, and Human Services, approval of an agency service contract with Cascadia Behavioral Health Care for outpatient mental health treatment, supported employment, and crisis respite services. Approval of an agency service contract with Cascadia Behavioral Health Care for Assertive community treatment programs. Approval of a revenue agreement with Oregon Department of Education Youth Development Division. Approval of a sub-recipient agreement with Northwest Family Services for PreventNet Community Schools, Oregon City, Gladstone, and Milwaukee. And approval of a sub-recipient agreement with Totohutas, Inc. for PreventNet Community Schools, Rural and Molalla. Approval of an intergovernmental sub-recipient agreement with the City of Gladstone, Gladstone Senior Center to provide social services for Clackamas County residents age 60 and over. Board order for the approval of the Clackamas County Social Services Division Title VI Civil Rights Plan for the Transportation Programs. Approval of an interagency agreement between Clackamas County Community Development Division and Social Services Division for the Housing Rights and Resources Program in Clackamas County. Under Finance, approval of Amendment Number 1 with Ken Hollister Construction, Inc. for the Silver Oaks Building Tenant Improvement Project. Under Elected Officials, approval of previous business meeting minutes. Also, a request by the Clackamas County Sheriff's Office to enter into an intergovernmental agreement with Colton School District for the School Resource Officer for the 2015-2016 school year. Approval of a contract renewal with Horizon Health, Inc. at the Clackamas County Jail to provide inmate health care services. Under North Clackamas Parks and Recreation District, approval of a contract with the U.S. Forest Service for Spring Park Natural Area Enhancement Project. And under Water Environment Services, approval of a contract with Henderson LLC for construction of the Happy Valley Park Stream Stabilization Project. Approval of a personal service contract for Clackamas County Service District Number 1 with Barney Worth, Inc. for Public Affairs Consulting Services, and approval of a personal services contract with Tri-City Service District with Barney and Worth, Inc. for the Public Affairs Consulting Services. And that concludes the consent agenda.
All right, any commissioners want to remove any of those items from the consent agenda? I'll ask for a motion.
I move approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Schrader. Bernard wasn't quick enough. And seconded by Commissioner Smith. All right, further discussion?
Yeah, you know the reason I do it is to move things along.
I know that. Well, we've got the picnic looming here. So, Mary, time for the roll.
Commissioner Savas?
Aye.
Commissioner Bernard?
Aye.
Commissioner Smith?
Aye.
Commissioner Schrader?
Aye.
And Chair Ludlow?
Aye, passes 5-0. And now it's time for the county administrator update.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioners, I've got several items this morning. First, of course, as you know, this last weekend, we were home to the big float on the Clackamas River, where some 6,000 people participated in floating down the river. And as you all know, the event in the past has had its share of problems associated with alcohol use. But this time around, with the park alcohol restrictions in place and what I think is outstanding work on the part of our county sheriff's office, and our county parks staff working together very diligently. We had very few incidents and only a few minor injuries were reported as a result of the event. And I really think that's quite an accomplishment worthy of acknowledgement, and thanking both our Sheriff's Office and our County Parks Department staff as well. So we're really happy that we could accommodate so many people who could safely enjoy one of our outstanding, beautiful natural resources here in Clackamas County in this way. So. And then I wanted to read to you a note that we received from a county resident to county staff. This is from a Jason B., who is building a small addition to his home. And he wrote, quote, "All of my dealings with the county during this process were exceptionally helpful and efficient. I've probably had more than my fair share of dealings with city, county, and state governments, and I have to say that dealing with the staff at Clackamas County really has been a revelation. Specifically, Linda May in the Planning Department and Cindy Sims in Assessment and Taxation both went above and beyond the call to help me find the information I needed, and were always available and easy to communicate with in a way I don't often expect from public offices. So I want to thank Linda May and Cindy Sims for demonstrating outstanding customer service to our citizens here in the county. And then, we have been in the process of renovating our Beaver Creek Health Clinic, and I'm happy to report that this work is now completed. The renovation, which was paid for with federal grant funding, has resulted in a new in-house pharmacy, a computer area, information center, and a children's play area, among other improvements. We're looking for an open house 1 week from today, Thursday, August the 13th, and we're inviting the public to come on in and check it out. For details, folks can take a look at the In the News section on the county website on our splash page at www.clackamas.us. And then I have one other item I got. I received an email communication from the Clackamas County Arts Alliance, and they are announcing for the Clackamas County Cultural Coalition. They are now accepting project grant applications for their 2016 cultural grant application program. Minimum grants are $500 and a maximum grant is $2,500. Both individuals and organizations who are interested in promoting arts, heritage, or humanity-based projects will be considered. So there's information on the website relative to that. The deadline to apply is October the 9th at 5 p.m. And so we invite folks who've got ideas about arts, heritage, and humanities to consider making an application for the program. That's my report.
Thank you. And Commissioners, if we can be a little shorter than we normally are, we have some obligations coming up here real soon today. So we'll start with Commissioner Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We all went to the ribbon cutting at the Aurora Airport for the opening of the new tower. We met the air traffic controllers, huge event. I'll let others talk about that if they want. I was very pleased to be in support of that effort. This week I toured Vector Control down on next to our county transportation facilities. I also toured again our transportation facilities to again get to know what they do. And my second tour was much more enlightening than my first tour is when I came on, when people had me touring everything, and things are a blur. So it's nice now to go back for a second time and take a look at their facilities and all the great things we did. I attended, as other members here did, the Regional Wastewater Board meeting last week about the future of the governance of the Tri-Cities area, and I have to say it was very painful. Watching those folks, and I'm not afraid to say that. Now, from one of our testimony, we had Norm Rice came forward and said, that commissioners elected have an oath to uphold state and federal law. And he's right on that, and I do take my oath seriously. However, what happens when state and federal law are in conflict of each other? And that's not a good position that any of us want to be in. But I will say this, when that happens, and there's an overwhelming vote in my own backyard, mind you, to go this way, I tend to go with the folks closest to home. And because you're the ones that put me in office, you're the one that can run against me and take me out of office if that's what you wish. So what I'm trying to do with the marijuana situation is make what I consider a very bad situation and make it livable to a certain extent and keep it lawful.
Thank you. And Commissioner Savas.
Well, I'll be brief. I do want to just thank my colleagues for attending the meeting on Thursday night on the Regional Wastewater Capacity Group. The number of the members, a majority of the members, asked for discussion about governance, and so they pretty well led that charge on Thursday evening to talk about that. It was unfortunate to hear some communications and things said that are just wholly inaccurate, and it is painful. It's painful to participate in that, especially when you realize that the ratepayers, the interests of the ratepayers, and whether it's Oregon City or West Linn or Milwaukee or Gladstone, Happy Valley, no matter what, they're all affected, impacted by our decisions, or frankly, in this particular case, years of indecision by one particular district. We got a communication from West Linn a couple days ago on Tuesday, an invitation to sit down with the 3 cities of Tri-Cities, and the invitation was extended to Clackamas County Commission and the city of Oregon City and the city of Gladstone from West Linn. Let's all 4 of us sit down and talk about this. And we said Tuesday, agreed to say, yes, let's do that. That's a good idea. Let's clarify the facts and get the good information out there and work on a common foundation of fact. And I guess we just learned this morning that was the Oregon City Commission met last night and they decided not to do that. That's unfortunate. But I think it's important right now that what's facing us in the future is going to cost us hundreds of millions of dollars in not working together, and we could save hundreds of millions of dollars by working together. And I think we need to get hopefully some traction on getting out the facts. I know that staff's been directed to work on a fact sheet, and I appreciate again my colleagues attending on Thursday evening to get a better grip of what we're facing, and so we can get some good information out there. We are elected by those folks. And what's in their best interest is in our best interest.
Thank you. Commissioner Bernard.
Well, I think that proves again that facts don't matter.
To some
It's
people.
really true. I mean, I guess that the only facts you believe are the facts you have researched. And I don't know how you do that. None of us have all that time, but facts don't matter. They really don't. They should. They matter to me. They matter to you. But oftentimes facts don't matter. You know, the home sales are record high. The housing price now is $370,000. I don't know if we have plans, and I don't know when Metro is making the decision about the urban growth boundary, but whatever it is, somebody should be there. Because this morning they're talking about all the people moving here because it's a great place to live and probably to smoke marijuana. We need to make sure we testify at that urban growth boundary, because I'm one who absolutely wants to protect our farm and forest, our rural communities, and I think there's a big mistake being made, probably as important as marijuana, and that is our poor, our lower income folks work at banks, repair cars. All students with huge debt can't afford a home. And if we continue to compress the urban growth boundary, those home prices are going to be, well, they're already out of reach of most people. Yep. And I don't know how we're going to solve that problem. We're going to continue to invest in affordable housing so that our banker, our lawyer, a lawyer starting out, you know, and most of my employees who make good money and have health insurance benefits and retirement benefits can't afford to buy a home anymore. That's a big mistake. It's going to impact us for many years. So that indecision that you talked about at Tri-Cities is going on here too in our land use discussions. So somebody should be there, if not all of us, when they make that decision. I think they've already made the decision, but we need to speak out. The other thing is the continued attacks in theaters. There was another one last night. And all these people have mental health problems. You know, when they close damage, they load the bus up and let them off downtown. And we do not provide those kind of mental health support that folks need. And I appreciate it in the consent agenda today that we are funding mental health provider. We can't do it all, and we need to really make sure we do that. The other thing on marijuana facilities, I think that next year's budget, we should put more money aside for code enforcement and for law enforcement for marijuana alone, because I don't know how we're going to enforce the code with as little staff as we have, and maybe we need a marijuana czar, somebody at the county who is responsible to make sure that the laws are followed. And I look forward to tonight's debate. Hopefully there's no wind on the stage.
There's a lot of wind, hot air.
I mean, that might blow somebody's hair astray. But I hope there is, because that would be fun. I look forward to that. And so C4 will probably be lightly attended. There is a meeting tonight, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so that you're talking about the presidential debate?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm taping it on my DVR, so I don't, so I can come home and watch it, so.
Yeah, well, I want to see it live.
I do too.
So I can tweet and do all kinds of things. So I look forward to that. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I'm going to be, hopefully, even more brief. One, on Thursday, August 20th, at 10 a.m., we will be, oh, yeah, you put that on me, okay. At 10 a.m., we'll be having our regular business meeting. I'm sorry, what?
Do I go after you?
Oh,
I forgot Martha.
how did I miss you, Martha? I
Want to go
apologize.
eat, that wonderful
Know
barbecue.
that. Go ahead.
Have you done it? No, I want you to go, Martha. I don't know what happened there. Go ahead.
I really will be quick then, because I know we were all anxious to get out there. So I met with Annette Matson and Charlie Alcock with our economic development folks, Catherine Comer this past week, talking with PG about right-of-way issues and what our landscape is for economic development. They are a big player in that, helping our county get what we need to get in terms of jobs and expansion. Also visited Lines for Life. Lines for Life is essentially our center. It's a nonprofit dedicated to preventing substance abuse and suicide. Basically, they have crisis lines. They basically receive approximately 35,000 calls per year dealing with substance abuse, people in crisis, and suicide prevention. They also very specifically have a military help line and a youth line, and that was a good piece for me to get a look to see how they are a nonprofit that works with our emergency responders and adds capacity to people who are in crisis. We did attend the Aurora Airport ribbon cutting. That was fun. We also, yesterday morning, had the Regional Economic Development Ecosystem that was put on by Greater Portland, Inc., as well as our economic development team, looking to see what those future jobs are going to be for the region. Also, with economic development, we had a tour of Washington High School, which has kind of been reinvented from a high school to actually a very vital part of the community with businesses. It's also on the list to be a national preservation site, and is an example that we are looking at to see if there is a potential for one of our vacated schools here in Clackamas County in the Oak Grove, I believe. Is that the Oak Grove area? And what's the name of the
Concord,
school there?
yeah.
Concord School. And so we're really working on that and saw an example of that. Finally, if you have time, I am kayaking on the river at 10 a.m. Friday morning at Energy Kayaking. And if people want to get a different view of the locks and Willamette Falls, this is a great way to do it. And I invite the public to be there. You have to rent a kayak from Sam Devereaux from Energy Kayaking, but they will get you safely back and forth to see some beautiful sights down on the river.
And that's the Oregon City Marina. Agreed?
That is correct.
Now, by golly, I haven't missed a commissioner before. Well, that's bad. On Thursday, August 20th at 10 a.m., we'll be having our regular business meeting at the Clackamas County Fair. Please note this will be an evening meeting. Now, how can that be? Now, wait a minute. It says 10 a.m. Please note that this will, not be. Gee, I didn't bring my reading glasses today, which is a little evident to me. And just like last year, to accommodate our meeting, fair organizers are graciously offering, here it is, free admission to all fairgoers until 10 a.m. that day, which is the scheduled start time for our meeting. The 109th Annual Fair and Rodeo runs from Tuesday, August 18th through Sunday, August 25th at the Clackamas County Event Center in Canby, basically known as the Fairgrounds. Please come out and eat some festive food, enjoy carnival rides, take in some bull riding and other fun events, and watch your county commissioners in action. More details about the fair and all their activities at the Fair Week can be found at the front page of the Clackamas County website. That's www.clackamas.us. We hope to see you there. Mary, let's put up the
Doc?
no, not yet. The open house. Yeah, thank you. Should have written that one down too. Yeah, I need more coffee. So we have two more town hall meetings. They are, as you can see on the screen there, Ensure Safe and Healthy Communities as a theme in Canby, again at the Canby Fairgrounds, but that's in September 22nd, starts at 6 p.m. And the final one of the calendar year is the topic, Honor, Utilize, Promote, and Invest in Our Natural Resources. In Welch's, the Resort at the Mountain, and the date is Wednesday, October 28th, 2015, again at 6 p.m. Commissioner Bernard?
Why don't we change the title of that Canby event at the fairgrounds and maybe have a marijuana discussion?
Oh, gee.
I mean, they have a fairly large facility. The timing's about right.
Well, oh, you mean the town hall?
Yeah.
Oh. Well,
It's in our rural community.
I
They're the people be impacted most.
yes, Paul?
you're looking this way, so.
No, I'm just looking because John's over that way, but
I don't know, we can
it might be we ought to consider it. I'm just saying, let's consider it.
consider that. Usually under issues coming up this next week, Mr. Krepp will put it on there about where to hold that and if to hold it. All right, it's dog time. I have been passed over the following, which will appear on your screen in a microsecond here. Oh, yeah, Cubby. Hey ho, this is Cubby. His name fits him perfectly because he is a sweet, cuddly fella in a big boy body, 63 pounds. He is smart, too. Ask him to sit and stay, and he will obey, better than my children did. His big smile and wagging tail show how friendly and happy he is. He would be even happier if you visited him today. For more information about Cubby and other adorable dogs, please contact Clackamas County Dog Services at 503-655-8628 or www.clackamas.us/dogs. Now, I might note, that dog probably looks like a pit bull, but there's such a thing as a Yorkshire Terrier as well, and they look exactly the same. Remember that pit bulls have been bred that meanness into them, and I'll bet you that fella's a real friendly guy. So, ending on a dog note, ladies and gentlemen, there being no further business before the Clackamas County Commission this day, it is picnic time. This means adjournment.